This one piece of paper made me my first $1 million. I wrote this down sitting in a college classroom at 20 years old. 5 years later, I was a millionaire. Here's why this works and how to implement this simple strategy to make your first $1 million, your next $1 million, or hit any other goal you have for your life. The first thing you need to understand is that goals work. It sounds obvious, but I researched 60 years of all the science around goal setting, anecdotal evidence, what all the researchers have put together, and I ended up turning that into a 17-page report that I really just created for myself. And the overall summary is that goals absolutely work. You know, there's people out there that talk about having no goals, and that's better for life. It does make life feel easier, but I don't think it's how you create the best life possible if you want success, fulfillment, happiness, and impact. And so I start with this because in life, often the fundamentals are what win. There's a lot of fancy stuff out there in terms of hacks and time management and morning routines and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have a very clear goal to start with, applying the right kind of principles that we're going to talk about here, then it's like, doing biohacking routines, but you're eating like crap. It's like start with the fundamentals, then add all of that stuff. So here are 4 tips you can apply right now. Strategy number 1, write it down. You are 20 to 50% more likely to achieve a goal just by writing it down. It literally takes 1 minute. It's the fastest thing you can possibly do to increase your likelihood of achieving what you want to. My preference is to take out a little piece of paper just like this and write your goal down on there, not on your phone. To me, the problem with doing any productivity stuff on a phone is like being a gambling addict and making your daily coffee shop inside of a casino. It's not a good idea. You want to focus your productivity outside of the most distracting device that we have, which is our phones. So I recommend writing it down on a piece of paper and then sticking it in your wallet or in your purse. Then it's with you almost all of the time, and you can review it whenever is most convenient for you without having to have your phone. Strategy number 2 is to make your goal ambitious and doable. One of the things that I uncovered from doing tons of goal research was that weak goals don't work. They're almost not worth setting. If a goal is too small, it doesn't increase the amount of activity that you produce or the intensity of that activity. So you almost have to have bigger, more ambitious goals. But there's a little bit of a balancing act because I've done it myself. I've seen other people do it where you set a goal so big, so impossible, it sounds cool, but you end up doing no work towards it because you're almost like, I don't even understand how I can connect the dots. So confidence comes from achievement. The more you've achieved in your life and the more you've stretched yourself in the past, the easier it is to reach further and stretch harder in the future. So while you're setting a goal, set one that you believe you can achieve, but there's not a 100% chance of success. Set one where there's a 20, 30, 40% chance of failure. Then when you hit it, which you most likely will, the next time, go a bit bigger because your confidence is going to be building. So the amount you can stretch is also going to be greater. Strategy number 3, make it clear. Because the reason for this, we've all heard of SMART goals and all that sort of stuff. But the big lesson here is that clarity creates accountability. If your goal is very fuzzy, then there's nobody holding you accountable, even yourself, to whether you did it or not. If you have a loose, undefined, or weak goal, they don't really create the possibility of failure or success. You're just kind of living in no man's land the entire time working towards the goal. And even after you maybe would have accomplished it, you never really know if you did it or not. So there's no accountability on your part. So make it crystal clear whether the thing was accomplished or not. It should be binary. You either did it or did not, which usually means attaching a specific date, a specific metric, something that's very clear whether you accomplished it or not. That keeps yourself honest along the way and all the way through accomplishing it or not accomplishing it. Because a lot of times, some of these goals, you may not get there, but it's really going to force you to stretch. We, for example, set a goal very early on to build one of our companies to $100 million in valuation. And so we did that based on some assumptions on market valuation that we don't really have any control over. But as we got past the pandemic, this market euphoria, valuations and consumer brands kind of took a nosedive. And so we never actually, at least not yet, we'll probably be there in the next year or two, got to $100 million valuation, but we did hit all the targets that we set based on those prior valuations that people were getting when we set that goal. So we set this big goal and it required us to act at a level that I don't think we would have had we not had that bigger goal. So even though we didn't technically accomplish it, I think we achieved far more by working towards that bigger goal than had we set a smaller one, which is totally fine. Fourth and final, strategy number 4, carry it with you. First off, just by carrying it with you, you're forced to actually write it down, which is good. That's strategy number 1. Then it's also easy to review. And I think this was the biggest difference for me. When I set that goal sitting in a college class at 20 years old that said I will have a net worth of $1 million by age 25, I set that sitting in a college class and I literally carried it with me in my wallet every single day for the next 5 years. When I'd be getting ready to go to bed or wake up in the morning or I'm using the bathroom, I'd pull out my wallet, I'd pull out that goal and I'd review it. And sometimes I would even read it out loud. That's the power of carrying this thing with you all the time. Even seeing it just stick out of your wallet or your purse without even completely opening it is a reminder that goal exists. And I find that to be one of the biggest problems with setting goals that you do in a notebook one time and then, 3 months later you're onto a new notebook and that goal is buried in somewhere, is that you forget. You know in the back of your head that goal kind of exists, but it's not the same as reminding yourself every day. I remember at one point I was trying to gain weight because I was doing a lot of jujitsu and heavy weightlifting, so I needed to eat more calories. And I tried a lot of stuff, but the only way I was actually able to do it was putting a scale in my office. Part of it was the daily measurement. Part of it was just seeing that scale literally every single day, reminding me of what I was trying to accomplish. The same thing works with writing down, setting goals, and carrying them with you every single day. Now, here's the unfortunate reality. Most people are not going to do this. Even those who watch all the way through the video, they're going to think, that's nice. I got it. Set a goal, write it down. I don't need to do it. I've heard this before. And that's why most people don't live great lives. They think they're too good to do the fundamentals. Yet the people who are fanatic about the fundamentals end up accomplishing the most. They know that practicing the basic things like setting and reviewing goals again and again is what creates greatness. So what kind of life do you want to live?